Hello, compliments of the season. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stober. The 25th of December reactivates the mood for love and inspires the spirit of sharing and commitment to one another in different ways. But how has this year's Yuletide season reflected on the divine principles of what the period symbolizes for humanity, and how can the lessons be imbibed to strengthen national unity and cohesion, especially as the nation prepares for a smooth transition from the current dispensation to the next? Tonight, we'll be discussing the Yuletide, the Nigerian state, and national cohesion. But before we get down to that, let's get to see this report put together by correspondent Ruth Samuel.
Religion continues to be a unifying social force in Nigeria that cuts across race, ethnicity, gender, nationality, and socio-economic status. Given the multiple roles that religion plays in ensuring societal, political, and socio-economic stability, faith communities from all walks of life need to be at the forefront of promoting peaceful coexistence among all. This Yuletide, like every other festive period, provides yet another opportunity to reflect on the strength of the nation's diversity, rather than focus on things that tend to tear the people apart.
Love is a universal language, irrespective of who you are, color, race, denomination, If you express love to your neighbor, there'll be peace, there'll be harmony. So that's all what we need to coexist.
We are supposed to relate with each other for the betterment of society. Nigeria is for all of us, and we should help in building it. It has helped me change a lot of things I do for the better.
Lagos, a melting pot of Nigeria, continues to be a reference point as the state is home to everyone, irrespective of religious inclination. This accounts for the peaceful coexistence amongst the residents in the state, as each festive celebration further unites the people. As Nigerians join the rest of the world to celebrate the season, religious leaders and concerned citizens have once again re-echoed the importance of religious tolerance and love for nationhood.
You see, we who are Christian, we who particularly are attuned to the season, should begin to promote love. So we should come together. It's a time of togetherness. It's a time of love. It's a time of sharing. It's a time of giving gifts.
When he got to Medina, he said, "Last chosen for you, Eid al-Adha, the big one, and Eid al-Fitr, the one after fasting. For others, they have theirs. When they are doing, you make things easy for them. That is it. And that's the point where our unity is supposed to hang upon.
To bring ourselves together and walk in love, not talk love. We walk the walk of love, because love brings and fosters unity.
Respondents agreed that promoting national unity and cohesion amongst Nigeria's diverse population, rather than divisiveness, will guarantee the kind of progress and prosperity that citizens have long desired.
Well, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guests. We'd like to welcome to this program Bishop Emma Isong, is the National Publicity Secretary, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. Dr. Isong, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Right. Let me also welcome to this program Sheikh Muhammad bin Uthman, his Chief Imam, Sermonizer, Sahaba Mosque, Kundila, Maiduguri Road, Kanu. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
We are also joined tonight by Dr. Salim Omali, Executive Vice Chairman of the Kaduna State Peace Commission. Thanks for being with us. And Professor Bell Ihua of the Coal City University, Enugu, who's Executive Director, Africa Polling Institute. Thanks for both of you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening, Nigeria.
All right. Well, as you all know, this program, at some point in time, you can get to be part of the discussion in the studio. But when it's that time, we'll remind you of the procedure. For now, let's begin to look at the issues at stake, the season, and how does it reflect on our general being as a nation, as a people, and what are we looking at here in this period? Bishop Sam.
Thank you so much. Beautiful question for a season like this, for everyone of faith. We keep celebrating the season, and I don't know how many understand the reason for the season. Of course, making the matter very brief for some of our viewers, the birth of Jesus Christ in Bethlehem, Luke chapter 2, verse 11, unto us a Savior is born. Many have come to make it a seasonal Yuletide, a moment of unity, of family, funfair, and exchange of gifts, which is by no means not to be undermined. But the very reason why we celebrate is what will bring us together as a nation. Love was born, a Savior was born, and that love is what glues us together, ties us together as people of faith, that we understand that God so loved the world, He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believe in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. But how far does that now, transcend through my life to your life? How can I be a reflection of that love to my neighbor in the office and in the community? It still remains a big question to be answered.
All right, thanks so much. Straight to the point. Let's come to you, Sheikh Muhammad. The season, everyone talks about being together, talks about love. And even if, as the bishop has said, sometimes we skip the reason for the season and go with the festivities attached to it. But looking at a people, how does it reflect on our being?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. From the onset, we as Muslims have our own worldview. And that is, we believe in togetherness, in being cohesive and united, especially in a geopolitical entity such as Nigeria, which has diversity. That diversity should be maintained, should be celebrated. But each and all of us should maintain his own religious belief. The Quran says in chapter 109, verse number 6, Allah says, Lakum dinukum waliya din. Unto you belongs your religion, unto me shall be mine. But that does not make you just to be fighting. No. Understand your belief and live as my own. Then we come together and live as one nation. I may not necessarily share the same view with my friend, being a Christian. He may not share my own during Salah. But that does not stop me from saying, good morning, how are you? I wish you peace and stability in all you do. But don't forget, we have a red line that cannot be crossed. In Islam, though you do not share the view with somebody, that doesn't stop you, like I've said, from embracing one another. Just like what Sadona said, the premier. Once he was talking to Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. We were kids, we were being told. Azikiwe said to him, let's forget our differences and all. We shouldn't forget our differences. It's better we appreciate those differences and then we come together. He said, for example, I'm a Muslim. We're a Christian. I'm a Northerner. We are from this part of Nigeria. I am Igbo. You are Igbo. I'm Fulani. So to try and just wash them aside, it will be kidding. It's better we know our differences and then respect your brother and respect. I believe in the concept of LTLT. I said it earlier. What is that? Learning to live together. That is LTLT. If I know this is my friend, I respect it. But that doesn't mean that I will participate in celebrating his own religious belief. No, I have my own religion. He has his own. That is how we as Muslims look at it.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go over to Dr. Salim Omali, Executive Vice Chairman of the Kaduna State Peace Commission. Well, from the institution you represent, it's quite clear that these are organs that are set out in response to certain deficiencies. And so the question is relevant here. Utilizing the period you are in reflecting on what the nation stands together and what unity and cohesion and the principal theme of it all, love.
Very much, Cyril, for bringing this very topical national issue at this stage. Let me just start by saying that, first of all, before we belong to any ethnic group or before we belong to any religious group, first we are humans. And by being humans, we are created in a certain way, and we think in a certain way, and we act in a certain way. We are influenced by the ethnicity, by the religion, by the geography, by wherever we are. Yes, those influences are there. But first of all, we are all humans, and we all belong to the humankind, and that's one of the most fundamental issues. Among the key attributes of every human being is his desire to have that liberty, to enjoy, to have joy, to have love, to be loved, to belong, and then also for others to belong unto him. And I think these are fundamental issues all over the world. So in every culture, in every religion, there are times that you find those religions fit into the human nature, the human being, the desire of every community throughout history to have those celebrations, to have those events that will bring people together, be them naming ceremonies, be them festivities of religion, like we are having in the Islamic faith, in the Christian faith, in any other faith. There are these times that people normally come together to celebrate, to enjoy, to reflect, and then to build cohesion among themselves. And the Christmas period is one of the most important throughout the world that brings in people together, especially those that adhere to the Christian faith. It is a period of deeper reflection, it's a period of joy, it's a period of celebration. And I believe that it is very important in pluralistic societies like ours, like the Sheikh just mentioned, we have a common understanding, we have this strong respect, we have this very strong understanding of the beliefs, the values, and the practices of the other faiths, so that in such period, we join them in celebrating, in reflecting, and in looking forward to what we can do to ourselves as humans living within the same geographic environment. And I think this is very, very important. So we are congratulating our Christian brothers and sisters in this period of time, and it is a time that we all need to reflect. But it is a period in which we need to think deeply. It's a period we have to watch what happens within the previous 1 year and to begin to think of what we can do to make our own societies better for the forthcoming year. Irrespective of our religious faith, irrespective of where we live in terms of geographic space, we all belong to the same entity. And this closeness, this togetherness within this entity will define what we are, what we enjoy, and what we collectively suffer. So we are in Nigeria as a whole body, where wherever a component of that body is sick or is not in a joyous mood, the other components cannot have full enjoyment, they cannot have that full liberty. So it's really a period which we think is very, very important in the history of our nation, in us as believers of different faiths, and in us as a nation to come together, reflect, and see how we can collectively build a cohesive nation that we will all enjoy.
Thank you so much. And Professor Bell Ihua, Executive Director, Africa Polling Institute. You, of course, have been involved in a project of assessing cohesion. And let's hear you speak about that.
It's great to be here. Yes, I've been conducting national surveys on social cohesion in the last 4 or 5 years. Fortunately, been the grant by Ford Foundation to conduct a few annual rounds of cohesion. First of all, let's look at the conceptual meaning of cohesion. Cohesion has to do with the willingness of citizens of a country to work together towards ensuring two major things. One, towards ensuring survival, that's corporate existence, and two, towards ensuring prosperity, that's talking about economic development. If you look at the Organization for Economic Development, OECD, talks about at least four characteristics of cohesion. The first is to foster unity and oneness of the people or citizens of the country through the creation of.
All right. Now, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Professor Bailey, who I will return to you. We have some challenges with your microphone. We'll have to go off you for a while and see if we can fix that hitch so that we can hear you clearly and in what you're bringing out. There's still so much to talk about, and particularly in the matter of national cohesion, especially in the project which you participated in, and to find out the parameters, how you came to the conclusions that you have come to. We'll talk about that, but let's give you some time to see if we could fix that hitch with your microphone so we can hear you louder. But returning to our other guests here, there's this matter that is recurring, and that's the one of religious tolerance, harmony in Nigeria, which has led to a lot of unpleasant situations in the past, and people have spoken out against what it takes, what should be done, so that people will have mutual respect for each other's faith and people can stay together. Where lies the problem? Is it among the followers? Is it among the leaders of faiths? And I'm not restricting this to just the two of Islam and Christianity. There are also traditionalists amongst us and who have and believe in other forms of worship and deities.
There's nothing wrong with religion. There is something wrong with the practitioners of religion. There's nothing wrong with the knife, for instance. The same knife that the doctor uses to do surgery to save life can be the same knife the assassin will use to take a life. Same knife. So it is the use of the knife that is the problem. So nothing really actually wrong with faith. But I think the underlying problem of politics, sometimes I used to say, the political processes have hijacked, I don't want to use the word polluted, religion, because he who pays the piper dictates the tune. People go into religious places and find it very comfortable place to campaign, to seek for votes, and people have used religious reasons to subvert justice. I mean, talk about corruption. I mean, you cannot arrest me because I'm a Muslim, because I'm a Christian, or it's a fellow Christian that stole, so we should not arrest him. So it's a fellow Muslim that took the money, so we should not touch him, or traditionalist, like you said. So the thing to be looked at now is not religion itself, but the underlying forces that subvert religious practices. Our diversities in, somebody talked about diversity in religion, diversities in ethnicity. They are We have common areas of meeting. Look at the just concluded World Cup. We were playing the ball as Africans, we were playing as Europeans or as nations. Nobody remembered anybody there was a Muslim or a Christian, but we were looking for the goals at any time any nation played. So I think if we look at it in the area of one, like somebody said, our common humanity, two, our shared nationality, and then three, our Abrahamic unity, because the three major religions in the world come from Father Abraham. And there are also points of trajectory in all the religion, even if you extend it. For instance, do not kill is not only particular to Islamic faith, it's particular also to other faith, Christian faith. So if we understand, I asked somebody the other day, would you like your junior sister to be kidnapped or to be killed? Would you like your mother to be maimed or to be bombed? Would you like your uncle to be attacked? If no, when I'm shooting the gun, I should know that the bullet will not differentiate who is a Christian or who is a Muslim. If I'm a terrorist, for instance, and I throw the bomb on the market square, the bullet is not going to dictate and say, okay, all Christians, they die. All Muslims here don't die. No, the bullet is going to kill everybody. Look at the chicken. The chicken is chicken when you peel the feather. So when you say white chicken, blue chicken, black chicken, when you pull off the feathers of the chicken is still the chicken. So therefore, humanity, you have blood, the sheikh has blood, I got blood. God forbid, if you throw a bomb here, everybody here has blood. So we look at the common humanity, shared nationality, and of course the point of trajectory of the Abrahamic faith. Then we understand how to live together.
Right, Chief.
That's good. You see, in the Holy Quran, in chapter number 49, verse number 13, with specificity, there Allah says, and I quote, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا. All mankind. Here Quran addresses mankind generally, regardless of geography, tribe, whatever. We've created you from male Adam and woman. So it tells you, regardless of your religion, then he says we made you nations and tribes so that you know one another. Look at the point. The base of you in the eyes of Allah is the base attitudinally, character-wise. This Islamic viewpoint that we're all human beings, the one that is based closest to God, Allah the Almighty, is the one that keeps his do's and don'ts. And in the process, you have to be civilized in treating people. Even the dog should be honored. What about human being? So, for example, if somebody kills in the name of Islam, he is not using Islam. He's doing something satanic, devilish. So going by the ayah I have quoted, it has set the role for you. The boat can be rolling. So if somebody claims to be a true Muslim, the ayah is there. But concerning national cohesion, here you have two things. There is something called cohesion, which is qualified being national. Nigeria, this important geopolitical entity, which is the seventh in terms of population across the world, with China the first, India, USA, Indonesia, Brazil, you have Pakistan, then Nigeria. This nation, Allah the Almighty has given it unto us to maintain it through peace, stability, understanding, politeness, accessibility on the part of the government. Now the trouble, you talk about cohesion, that cohesion is punctured if 10 things are not gotten from the political aspect. And then religious leaders, some of them try to manipulate it. That manipulative processes has been causing the trouble. Now concerning those 10 points that help in maintaining cohesion. Number one, security. Number two, food production. Number three, quality education. Number four, shelter. And number five, healthcare delivery system. Number six, power supply. It shouldn't be epileptic power as we have it today, very epileptic. And then good road. Our roads today are more or less just like, we can call it just dead traps. I know they're doing their best. May God help them. And then again, water. And then absence of corruption. I cannot imagine cohesion being achieved. It's not imaginable if we have a corrupt and corrupting system. Because in Islam, each and every human entity is made of two parts, physical and spiritual. By the time somebody spiritually is overtaken by the Satan, he goes on killing, raping, maiming, lying, bastardizing the economies. Okay, so spirit should be put on the right track. Physically, well, you eat and drink. You are a manifestation of two parts. You have a physical and spiritual component. By the spirit, you are a man, not by the physique. So Islam teaches the adherents to respect the spirit by strictly maintaining the do's and don'ts of Allah the Almighty. In the process, don't abuse anybody. Our Prophet ﷺ, when he reached Medina, okay, in the year 623 after Hijrah, he produced what is called the Medinan Constitution, which contained about 52 articles. It outlined how to live together with the Muslims and non-Muslims. The Jews were there, the Muslims were there, and even the pagans. But they lived in peace and stability without injuring anybody, but they maintained their own belief on the basis of lakum dinukum waliyadin. Unto you shall be your religion, unto me shall be mine. So if the political system does not take care of this thing, that's going to trouble. Finally, in Islam, we don't believe in something called Abrahamic religion. We don't. You know why? Because of chapter number 3 of the Quran and verse number 67. Allah says, "Ma kana Ibrahim Yahudiyan wala Nasraniyan, walakin kana Musliman." Abraham was neither Jew nor Christian, but a Muslim. But you see, when I say Abrahamism, it means by origin. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is from Abraham. So also Jesus, also Moses. But our own belief, the actual teachings are no longer there. So Quran says nothing is called Abrahamism. That's our own belief. Okay? But at the same time, even if somebody is worshipping a frog, Quran says don't abuse his own religion. Respect him. No, he's a human being. In the light of the ayah I have quoted already. 49 verse number 13. So, but when people have big scholars take center stage, killing in the name of Islam, then they tend to give Islam a negative name. So also it applies on the part of Christians. So that is the trouble. We should know that this nation given to us by God the Almighty is a gift by Him the Almighty. We shall maintain it. We shall tolerate one another, like I've told you, LTLT, learning to live together. That's where the missing links is. So I ask this kind of discussion to be held continuously for the purpose of enlightenment, because if people are not enlightened, there are chances of chaos taking place. God forbid.
All right, Dr. Salim Omali, and your commission has done a lot of work in preaching peace and tolerance, and the issues at stake are well known. For instance, Kaduna is turning into a hotbed of so many conflicts, and it would seem as if the more efforts put into resolving them, the more they spring up in different places. Let's try to look at what could be promoting conflicts, not just in your own space now, but across board. How you come about this thing of never accepting a situation or resolving a situation except through violence and such conflicts.
Much. I think from what the bishop said, he mentioned something about a goal. And when we say a goal, we do not just refer to a goal only in sport. There is a goal in life, in every society, in every nation, in every country. There are goals. And I think Nigeria, for a very long time, we have not systematically as a nation tried to set a common goal for the entire citizens of the country. So we have seen this gap existing, and therefore every ethnic group, every religious group, every social group, every economic group tend to develop a goal for itself. And some of these goals might end up becoming highly conflicting goals. And therefore, whenever you have very conflicting goals that everybody want to attain, you are bound to find chaos and confusion rather than coherence. And I think this is what this country has passed through. Secondly, I think the type of messaging that we have allowed to persist over these years, I think right from the immediate, even the politics of independence, and the immediate politics of post-independence and the long years of military rule have really not tried to set a national agenda, a national goal for the entire citizens of the country. And I think this has allowed a lot of polarization to take place within the polity, which has become excessively very difficult to manage. And again, like the bishop just mentioned, it's not the religion, the religious values, or the practice of the religion in itself. It is the statements and the manipulation of this religious space by people who are pursuing their own personal goals that have helped in further, disenchanting a lot of citizens. And like just the Sheikh have said, every nation and every young people that are coming up have aspirations. Once those aspirations are not adequately satisfied, again, it gives a lot of room for repeated manipulations to keep taking place and to keep recurring. When we speak, for example, we begin to talk about our young people that today have been moved into some of these criminal gangs. We look at our young boys, our young girls that have gone into insurgency in different parts of the country. We look at the challenges in the southeast with the Eastern Security Network, with some people that have taken the independence agitation for the nation of the Biafra beyond just agitation into violent crimes. If you bring all of these young people together, you pick so many of the young people from the rural communities in Kaduna State who are involved in both criminal activities as well as some of this intercommunal violence. You bring them all to a common room. You sit them, you discuss with them just for a day or two. You find out that these are young people with enormous potentials and enormous talents which Nigeria could harness for its own development. But with the level of our institutional capacities, with the low level of involvement of these young people in the affairs of governance, with the very low capacity of the state, both in terms of availability of resources as well as interest by the political leadership to bring in the different segments of the Nigerian society. And here, I am referring to the religious leaders, to our grassroots community leaders, to our teachers, to our family, parents, and many of those community-based institutions, to bring in all of these forces together, the community leadership, anchored by our traditional institutions, our religious leaders of both faiths, right from the grassroots. Then our core technocrats, the civil servants, those in the public sector institutions, and those that manages, the upbringing of the young people. And here I'm talking about our academic institution, right from the primary, secondary, and post-primary levels. We have not yet brought them together to sit and say, can we set an agenda for our young people? Can we set an agenda for a nation? Can we set the common message that every child that grows up in Nigeria must adhere to, must respect, must value? Unless we do this as a nation and we build a new citizenry, a citizenry that sees every other human with the same virtues that these our clerics have just mentioned, a citizen that sees Nigeria as a nation state, that irrespective of where he comes from, he's a citizen of this country, will continue to deal with many of these challenges. And now there is growing criminality. As you are dealing with young people trying to bring communities to live cohesively, there is rising crime, and there is challenges of dealing with these rising crimes. Again, the challenges of education and the right messaging is there, and manipulations, lack of economic opportunities, all of this combine in a negative way to create scenarios for some of the violent conflicts that we witness, not only in parts of Kaduna State, but also generally in the country. So as you are dealing with the problems in one area and trying to stabilize it, it will spike in another area where you even least anticipate it. And this is what we have been trying to deal with, in isolated situations. But collectively, as a citizen, as a nation, as states, we must bring in our citizens, and we must have a common goal which we all aspire and which we all work together to achieve. In that way, we will attain cohesion irrespective of our minor internal differences, which we must learn to understand and to work together. So we need that education to learn these differences, to understand them, and learn how to live peacefully and harmoniously amongst ourselves.
Very profound, Dr. Salim Amali, and we hope at this point in time we can get Professor Bailey, who are clearly now, Prof, you've been listening to the contributions by the other panelists here today. So now let's hear you from where you left off, from where we had to cut off from. Prof.
I was just trying to lay some theoretical underpinnings to this whole concept of national cohesion. And I was saying that the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, had provided about 4 thematic areas or 4 key characteristics of this whole concept of national cohesion. The first is to foster unity and oneness of the people. The second is to foster trust and a common identity for the different groups of, ethnic groups or different groups that we have in the country. The third is to provide a platform that fights discrimination, that fights exclusion, and that fights every form of inequality. And the fourth is to provide an enabling environment that allows for upward mobility. In spite of whatever background you come from, you can aspire that you want to go to the next ladder or next level, and you can go in. And when you look at the data, the statistics that's available to us by the National Bureau of Statistics, they recently released, multi-dimensional poverty index. You can see that 63% of the country from that data is poor, affected by multi-dimensional poverty, without monetary poverty, education, lack of limited access to education, limited access to basic infrastructure, and all these indicators that stir up a situation of limited cohesion. So from the literature, there are a number of indicators which we have used in our work to measure national cohesion. So we're talking about identity, how citizens see themselves. Do they see themselves from a national paradigm, or do they see themselves from an ethnic perspective? The data shows that about 80% of Nigerians see themselves having a dual outlook, dual of being Nigerian and equally from their ethnic paradigm, with more preference or more leanings toward ethnicity. That is why you see that ethnic champions like Sunday Igboho or Nnamdi Kanu are beginning to get quite a number of followers, because that is the general outlook of the citizens. When you talk about things like trust, our data shows that citizens now trust traditional rulers and religious leaders much more than they trust the government, the National Assembly, or even the judiciary. Then you talk about indicators like coping. How are citizens coping? The data shows us, our data shows that citizens believe that the government is not doing enough to cushion the effect of the harsh economic realities that's facing the country at the moment. So when you have these sort of perceptions, you have perceptions of polarization. Our data, for example, shows that 66% of citizens say that the country is much more divided today than it was 4 years ago. So that tells you that there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of building this cohesion that we're talking about. And as the Sheikh, the Imam said, and the Bishop said, the traditional and the religious institutions have a huge role to play, especially at the grassroots levels where they have access to citizens to work together, work with government to build this cohesion. There are other indicators such as gender equity. There's a lot that still has to be expected when it comes to the area of gender equity. For example, much as 80% of our population believe that boys and girls should be given equal access to education, over 60% still believe that government has not done enough to promote gender equity in the country, and a lot has to be done, citing the 3 bills that were knocked off from National Assembly. So there are various indicators. There's the indicator for polarization, there's the indicator for self-worth. How do you feel about yourself at the moment? There's even the indicator for future expectation. What are the expectations you have for the country in spite of whatever may be happening today? So what we see is that strongly there are these twin evils that are coming up. We call them the twin evils in sociological work. It's the poverty and the unemployment. We've done many studies in the past when we go around trying to dig into what is happening. Just as Dr. Saleh said, the lack of economic opportunities. So they tell you poverty, they tell you they don't have jobs. We know what the statistics at the moment is for the unemployment rate. It's about 33%. You add the underemployment rate to that, where you have people who are graduates and may just be surviving with something little to keep body and soul together. It's 55%. And if that data from MBS that says 133 million Nigerians are affected by multidimensional poverty has anything to say, it goes to tell us that a lot more needs to be done. Because when citizens have the perception that they've been excluded, that they've been discriminated against, then there is no amount of work that the government will try to do to assuage them in terms of development that will make any meaningful sense to them. So a lot more has to be done, and we need to look into bringing in the traditional institutions, bringing in the religious institutions, bringing in the academics, and bringing in other stakeholder groups to see how we can work together towards building cohesion.
Thank you very much. And at this point, we have other reports which will be taken. Let's get to see the first one from Kaduna.
With about 60 ethnic nationalities, Kaduna is one of the most diverse states in northern Nigeria. The description of Kaduna metropolis, perhaps urban cities of Zaria and Kafanchan, among other areas of southern and northern parts of the state, as miniature Nigeria, is not unconnected to social integration being entrenched since the early 60s. Past generations have enjoyed mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship, which manifest in the manner adherents of faith celebrates religious festivities together, with visitations and exchange of gifts.
In fact, our neighbor in Makarfi is a Christian, and for a long time we have been living peacefully. We exchange food during festivities.
There is no way you can encourage peaceful coexistence except if you promote inclusivity. It's very, very important. All the ethnic nationalities, all the religions matter in national development. Therefore, you have to galvanize and bring them together, and every group contributes its own quota towards nation building.
I remember when we were little, I grew up in Wari. As little children, then we play around. In the house, we go and just eat and we sleep. They will send message to our parents that, look, such a person is sleeping here. We know where we are. You understand it? Irrespective of religion, irrespective of tribal, irrespective of anything.
This beautiful cultural heritage has given way for mutual suspicion, mistrust, and conflict. Religious leaders say civic and moral education in schools will help to recover such mutual respect for one another.
Cohesion is something that is needed for national development. And cohesion does not come by accident. It comes by the understanding of the plurality of the people that makes a nation. We have to realize that if we are in a nation, and a nation is having a kind of plurality, we need to understand one another, respect one another.
For Muslim and Christian who share the bond, believing that Jesus is an icon, it's time for us to live the life of Jesus Christ. To ability to love, to let go, and forgive those who has hurt us in one way or the other, as Nabi Isa alayhi salam has taught us to do.
They, however, suggest revival of family values and community engagement in sensitizing the upcoming generation on the imperative of togetherness, promoting love and tolerance with a view to bringing back the good old days where religion and tribe were tools for mutual understanding and national cohesion.
We have another report, this time from Enugu.
The Yuletide is a season of love, joy, peace, and care to all mankind. All over the world, the Yuletide season is being celebrated mostly by Christians. However, as the celebration continues, respondents in Enugu State are calling for love, peace, unity, and progress of the country, using Christmas as a platform.
Christmas brings us peace. Let us live out what we are celebrating. If we live out peace, if we live out love, things will be better. Other politicians, you are now seeking our health and our mandate. Please, serve us.
For us Nigerians, there is a great proof that God is with us. What has happened in the year 2022 has shown that without God's presence in Nigeria, many places have erupted in either civil war or total destruction of lives and properties. And yet, Nigerians continue to forgive. We have gone through this year of very terrible economic challenges because God is still with us in Nigeria.
Even the non-Christians are not left out as they celebrate the season with their Christian counterparts by sharing with them in love and joy, while also praying for the peace and unity of the country, despite the existing differences and challenges the country is facing.
Already an existing coexistence between the Christians and the Muslims. So it's something that we just need to maintain. Okay. Maybe if there's any organization or maybe religious or maybe even tribal ones that could strengthen it.
It is the view of many that the nation through peaceful coexistence and bonding will bring about national cohesion.
All right, back in the studio, we saw those reports from the different perspectives and the enunciation of the challenges, those things that have brought the country to the current state it is in. Interestingly, a lot of people believe, I've always asked if this is really so, believe that in the past there was more, the Nigerians were more together than they are now. In fact, in one of those reports you heard that it's looking like the people are far apart, much more than they have ever been in the history of this country. When is the time to pull the reins and apply the brakes and begin to get back this unity of purpose as a nation? In spite of all the challenges, like Sheikh has enumerated some of those, which are also factors, economic factors, infrastructure issues, and all that.
I think the problems we're facing today has always been, maybe they are now escalated or they are magnified courtesy social media. And that will now bring us to the point of fake news,
hate speech.
Hate speech. Thank you, Sheikh. I wanted to get that out. So I think the involvement of hate speeches, fake news, sometimes you can't even believe what you're seeing on the social media or even on the mainstream media. And this has escalated our differences and widened the gap between neighbors. I mean, Luke chapter 10 verse 29, a man asked Jesus, who is my neighbor? In Islamic faith, Sheikh will explain it to you too. The neighborhood mentality is very important to peaceful coexistence, because in neighborhood, even in developed countries, are very important to peace and security. We talk about developed countries, it's not even the police that keeps the peace of the place, it's a community, because now you have got to see something and say something, and whichever person is involved, you're talking in the backdrop of nationalism, patriotism, and this is what we are lacking. I think we also need to bring, one of our speakers is it, Dr. Saleh, that so we need to come to the table. We need to get all restive and problematic people with diverse opinion to the table. I don't know what is wrong with our former national, what do you call it, something that people can just beyond the political National Assembly will come together. And I had suggested, I think on Tuesday Live, I don't know if you were the one anchoring, I suggest, I don't know how long am I, let us have the Ministry of Religious Affairs. Let's have it. If we recognize religion when we are going to campaign and looking for vote, because this discussion also is vis-a-vis 2023. If we recognize religion and even region in determining our campaign, why not we bring it into a federal ministry? Why would agriculture, why would tourism, why would culture and other things have a nomenclature? Why would they have a coordination? Why would they have a recognition?
And then you will now be saddled with the challenge of who will let that go.
No, there is nothing wrong in having to won this time. Are we not having presidency like that? Well, presidency would be a Christian. Next time another president will come from South or will be a Muslim. We have those rotation. It could be done. It could be done. There's nothing wrong. Because as much as we don't want to discuss religion, certain criminal elements are therefore, like I said, using religion as opium, as tools, willing tools, because this has to do with education too. He's speaking like this, and Prof is talking like this, Dr. Saleh and all of them are talking like this because they're educated. You are educated, I'm educated. So we're able to discuss at a level of understanding down the line where people are indoctrinated and where people are brainwashed. They do whatever they do at any promise of peanuts. Somebody's talking about economy. Bad governance and bad economy has pushed up unemployment rate, and unemployment also has affected security and criminality, because our youths, they said the idle man is the devil's workshop. Our youths who are not finding what to do. Look at this Christmas time, because we're still talking about the Yuletide season. How many on the street, just going around committing crime on Christmas Day? You understand what I'm saying? So if people are committing, crime rate is even high, terrorism rate is even high. We need to come to a point we should discuss religion just beyond a TV program. The government, it should bring us together to a point that traditional rulers and religious leaders should be part of contributors. When you get to Britain, you talk about my lord spiritual and my lord temporal. And so the British Parliament even recognizes the Archbishop of Canterbury and so on in other nations. The imams and the bishops are brought into governance, not just in advisory role, in participating, in contributing their quota, because they also rule the minds of the people. On Fridays, people rush to the mosque. On Sundays, the thousands of people you call citizens are in church on Sundays. That's why the pastor and the imam on Friday, the pastor on Sunday, has much power than even the ordinary chairman of local government or even an executive governor. Yeah. Because they control the spirit of the people. They control the minds of the people. So the earlier we understand and bring this into our governmental calculation, it will bring economic changes. Somebody talk about changing our messages. I believe that the preachers on pulpit should also change their messages. We are not feeding the people well, because if we talk about this cohesion in my church and he talks about this cohesion in his mosque, the people will listen to us. Who are those committing the crime? They are our members. Who are those killing? They go to the mosque, they go to church. These guys are not on the street. The armed robbers, they have a church they attend somehow. And the terrorists, they have somewhere they also go to listen. So the preachers of faith the people of faith should change our messages. We should put a pint of peace, a pint of love, a pint of whatever. When you go out there, don't kill. When you go out there, accept someone despite his doctrinal differences.
In all of this, there's also the aspect of the rule of law. You started talking about it in some measure earlier on, where justice and equity are not guaranteed, and these can also escalate the situation. How key is that to
Definitely, if justice is evasive, so to speak, definitely you came across a lot of things falling apart. But let me, Mr. Cyril, to just recount what happened on the 1st of this December. Kano State government organized what it called Inter-Religious Conference, National. And I happen to be the chairman of the conference. Cream of Nigerian leaders of religion were invited across the nation. South, Southeast, Southwest, all of us in Kano, they converged. And really that tickled my memory. I said, oh, still we have a big hope in this country called Nigeria. We discussed issues frankly. And the government did all it could. Accommodating people, clergymen were there. But one thing I believe in, saying what I believe to be the truth. I say, you see, in trying to make sure we maintain peace, unity, understanding, love for one another, justice, tolerance, fair play should be there. When I gave example, being the chairman during my welcome address, I say, much as I tolerate and I accept my friend, my Christian brother, having a work-free day on Sunday, that should also be extended to the Muslims on Fridays. That is true. Even though somebody might tell, well, in Islam, no provision for, a work-free day on Friday. Correct. But in Quran chapter number 62, verse number 9, Allah said, when a call has been made to pray, go and leave everything. On that time, you see a lot of places, people are denied going to the prayer. Even on academic institutions, examinations said on that very day. A lot of Muslims have concern on that. I'm just giving just a few examples. Similarly, I said the Gregorian calendar we use, officially, Muslims too feel the calendar of Islam, Hijrah, should also be used in the spirit of a fair play and justice. That is not done. On Salah day, there are some schools fixing exams on Salah. That cannot happen on Xmas day. I can't do it, nobody can do it. So there are some Muslims look at this. These are things that should be looked into critically with the aim and objective of trying to redress in order for the Muslim to feel they are treated equally. These are a few instances. I said it during the meeting and to the hearing of all and sundry, because I believe in passing information, because to be informed is to be formed, to misinform is to be deformed. I cannot go for deformation. That is one part. The second one, I talked about the militating factors against peace and stability. I mentioned security. I want a Nigeria whereby I can travel from Banki in Borno to Semaboda, from Abuja in Cross River to, say, Daura, freely. Today, I cannot travel from Kano to Abuja to Lagos in peace because I'm afraid I can easily be attacked. So the leaders owe the responsibility to make sure these things are looked into critically. Without security, all we're saying cannot be possible. We cannot be here talking. You wouldn't have been here. I can't be here. The Quran mentions security in a lot of places. That is number one. Number two, food. Without food, what can you do? The husband says the one chicken can until you are belly full. You can do something. If you're hungry, the government should make sure foods are there. Farming is made to be flourishing. Okay. Without this, definitely development can just be a kind of child play. That is number 2. Number 3, education. Very important. I'm talking about quality education. Quality matters, not the quantity. I want a situation where the incessant strike action by us will be stopped. Government should do the doable, which is possibly doable. And the teachers too should look at the situation, have a pity, have a mercy on those little boys coming up. You have been educated, you have your degrees and whatever. Look at the plight of these young boys growing up. So that is number 3, very important, education. It is only in Nigeria you have a nation where for consecutive 5 months or more schools are closed off. It's unimaginable. And again, after education, job opportunities. He says, and it's correct, idle hands are a devil's workshop. You are mass producing boys with high sounding qualification without job. What are you telling me? That is number 5. And that's number 4. Number 5, shelter. And number 6, healthcare delivery system. We should have good hospitals because health, they say, is wealth. Now, a lot of Nigerian doctors are just brain drainers, so to speak, going to many countries, greener posture. Government should look into this critically. And number 7, I said it, power supply. What is the trouble? The GTD, what do you call it, syndrome? Is it a generation, transmission, or distribution? Where lies the trouble? Can't we look at this situation and just fish out the bad egg, so to speak? Similarly, after this road, we should have good road. You travel from Kano to Kaduna, from Kano to Abuja. Our roads are not motorable. People are dying. Precious souls and lives are lost. Where are the monies budgeted for? Down the drain. Why can't the political system and all of us, because a tree doesn't make a forest, why can't we be together and fish out where corruption is there? And again, I have said, water. Water is life. And finally, number 10, absence of corruption. Corruption, you either kill it or it kills you. We have seen a lot of nations fighting corruption. I know, you know. In the 1970s, Richard Nixon had to leave the White House because of, what do you call it, Watergate. Similarly, during Reagan, that guy, Oliver North, was X'd out because of corruption, Iran-gate. There are a lot of instances to be mentioned. So this 10th thing, I call them the 10-point agenda for democratic dividends. Otherwise, it is kakistocratic and not democratic.
We'll take a short break here. When we return, there will be more on this discussion, and hopefully the lines will be open and you can be part of the discussion in the studio. So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Railway is the first double-track standard gauge railway to be built in West Africa. The Modelaji Johnson train station is a masterpiece, an infrastructure that is gradually becoming an iconic building in Lagos State. The modern facilities put the station on a world map of train stations. Likewise, other new train stations across the country built to world-class standards. The train and its convenience is indeed an admirable effort, with commendations from Nigeria.
This is a station that we have to commend the federal government for putting a beautiful face, empowering us in Lagos State, not only in economic political arena.
Like I said, I'm really impressed with the infrastructure in place. Kudos to the Minister of Transportation. Kudos to the federal government.
Truly, good things are coming out of Nigeria, and the federal government is deserving of all the applause.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
All right, thanks for staying with us. And this is the time when you can join in the discussion in the studio, and we remind you of the procedure, the process. Every Tuesday, The numbers to call will be on your screen. If you're calling in tonight and your call gets through to the studio, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV set. This is to avoid the hurlback or the echo. And we also encourage you to go straight to the point. We urge you not to bother too much about the greetings. A simple hello would do. And so we can get as many opinions as we can on it. And, right. So let's start off taking this report from Port Harcourt.
Abundant resources at over 200 million people from different ethnic nationality. These people are found in the 6 geopolitical zones of Northeast, Northwest, North Central, Southeast, and the South-South. Blessed with arable lands and abundant natural resources, the people are at liberty to reside wherever they chose to work and do business. Despite existing difference in culture and religion, communities such as Alu in Rivers State has a population of over 2,000 non-indigens made up of Hausas, Yorubas, and other parts of the country living and trading together.
I'm selling them for here now. I am selling my market well. These people that I'm still with them, the people is fine. I get plenty customer. So my business is grow up for
20 years. And then my market they move and they sell away. People they come by. Peace, no trouble. I like here because then they like stranger. Then they do us well. Non-indigenous, being Yoruba, Sibu and Hausa, we are all living together. Even if like 3 months ago or 2 months ago, thereabouts, when all the people had their wrestling festival, all of us, we moved together. They came, we drink, we eat. Even when they are having their own salad, something like that, they used to invite us and we cooperate freely.
The age-long practice of coexisting along ethnic lines, some citizens say, strengthens unity and peace of the country. And this could be achieved if Nigerians respect each other's boundaries and eschew vices that tend to divide and disrupt the peace of the other.
If the message of love is actually, established in our hearts, no one wants to hurt one another. No one wants to destroy one another. So we need the message of love because that is the message Jesus brought.
We want to ask the citizens of this country to learn how to tolerate one another. We may not believe in the same God and all that, but you can make room for one another wherever there is love.
As the Feast of the Yuletide teaches lessons of love, it behoves on Nigerians to have a rethink and reflect deeply on the gains of peaceful coexistence and rancor-free society in the spirit of the season.
All right, let's go over to Dr. Saleh Mamali. Dr. Mamali, we put this question and Sheikh touched an aspect of it. Yes. The calls are coming through, I believe. Right. He started talking about it and addressed part of it, but I still want to come to you on it. And I'm talking about justice here. In all efforts where you try to encourage unity, cohesion, nationalism, patriotism, by whatever name you call it, the absence of justice and equity, how does that affect it? So we have a first caller, right? Njuma from Lokoja calling in. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stevens. Good evening. I want to comment. Thank you. I want to comment on the submissions of the bishop. On the submission of the bishop that there should be Federal Ministry of Religious Affairs, that there should be establishment of Ministry of Religious Affairs. I totally agree with him. Hello?
Yes, go on, Nanjuma, we're listening to you.
Thank you very much. So, the bishop said he submitted that they are supposed to be. Yes, I am commenting on the submission of the bishop that Ministry of Religion Affairs is supposed to be established because the religion leaders controls the minds of the people, controls the spirit of their followers. That is very true, Mr. Siris, because if you look at our local makarankas in the streets, at times boys are afraid of their malam than their parents. And at times parents will report their children to their malam and they will correct them and they will be corrected. So if there is an establishment of religion affairs, it's going to assist seriously on reduction of criminality and all sorts of social vices. So I want to commend the effort of the bishop seriously for that intelligent insight.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anjuma. All right, so let's return to Dr. Salim Momali.
Or I say that I think the bishop earlier mentioned that the past have had its own challenges, and it seems in the most recent years we have been over-glorifying the past, vilifying the present, as if the present is totally bad when compared to the past. But if we look at Nigeria's history, we remember the various political crises in the immediate post-independence period, even during the colonial period. If situations were excellent, if everything was right, why did Nigerians fight for independence? Why all those struggles? Why the Aba women's riots? Why the Kano riots of 1953, for example? So every situation, every society, at every time in history, there were challenges. That was why our forefathers fought for independence, because of what is perceived as injustice, what was perceived as the quest or the need of Nigerians. And the country fought a civil war. That was an outcome of challenges of governance, challenges of cohesion, and things related to that. So we had challenges in the past. But the differences, I think, largely lies in the messaging. Today, we seem to glorify the negatives much, much more than we try to speak and discuss the positives. And especially in this era of social media messaging, where a single person can sit down and generate 1,000 or 2,000 or as many negative messages as he wish, and then publicize them to the entire world. In the past, if I have naughty, abusive, hate speeches I want to say, I can only say it to people around me. If I come to the NTA and I said, please give me your platform, or I go to any radio station, I said, give me your platform to abuse Nigerians or to abuse a section of Nigerians, the media station will say no. But I will just pick my phone from the comfort of my room and abuse any other person I want. So we really need to understand this. Again, there is no society with 100% sense. But the few within that are creating some of these hate speeches and messages, we tend to glorify them beyond those that are promoting very positive, good messages for the country. Again, importantly, I think it has to do with inspiration. We really need to inspire our young people rather than to despair them. Yes, there are challenges of employment opportunities. Yes, there are challenges of quality education. Yes, there's challenges of infrastructure. But I could see the advertorial, for example, of the railway stations, of the advancements we are making in terms of railway lines, railway transport systems. Our aviation, when we compared with the 1960s with 1970s, we won't speak about that. Let's look at our federal capital territory here in Abuja. Many of our industries are still working. Let's look at our communication sector. There are a lot of progress in so many sectors. If we look at, for example, the financial sector, let's look at the efficiency within the banking system. Today, we are even talking of e-banking, we are talking about e-naira, we are talking about many other progress that the country has recorded, which are all positive. Look at COVID-19. Nigeria was able to feed itself without major food shortages. Of course, there's the challenges of high inflation rates, yes, high prices of food, the inability of many Nigerians to afford quality meals. But overall, in terms of agricultural productivity, in terms of what we are getting, I think the country has made significant progress in, revamping its agricultural sector. Today, we are saying that we are almost near self-sufficiency in terms of, for example, rice production, maize production. We are very good with poultry. We are no longer importing poultry. We need to look at the other sectors where we are not doing well. How do we inspire Nigerians? How do we promote our private sector investments? In terms of industries, yes, the energy crisis, yes. How do we now revitalize and build, national refineries that will be able to address some of this energy crisis that we are facing? So I think inspiring the country, promoting this positive messaging will help a lot in even inspiring our young people. Of course, we are
inspiring the young people. Let me ask you to pause a while here and take this call that's coming in from Port Harcourt. Roland calling in. Hello, Roland.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead.
Good. First, I would like to appreciate the last speaker. He mentioned some wonderful current happening in the country. But where I disagree with him, in spite of all he said, you had a wonderful Nigeria before now. Way back 1981, I joined my mom to market. She bought Gary. In my very present, 1 naira, 51 cups. I'm not blaming the current administration. But truth be told, we have lost it. National cohesion for me is a fraud. In all honesty, let's be fair to ourselves. I only pray that a new Nigeria should be given birth to. Thank you for this moment.
All right. Thank you, Roland from Port Harcourt. Well, let's return to Dr. Momali as he concludes the other aspect. But again, yes, it's good to look at the positives as well when we talk about the negatives. But I'd like to still return to the question of justice and equity and the role it plays in all of this.
One of the major challenges in the work we do is this, what I can say, relative definitions. What is justice? What is fairness? What is justice to me? What is fairness to me? And what is justice to the other person? And what is fairness to the other person? And I think even though we have these laws, these constitutional provisions, we do not seem as a country to universally agree. And I think one of the earlier speakers, the bishop, mentioned it. If somebody is corrupt and he is arrested, the next question I ask, is he a Muslim or is he a Christian? If somebody commits a crime, let's say he kills somebody and he is arrested, the next thing I ask, who arrested him? Is it a Muslim police officer or a Christian police officer? Who is his judge? Is it a Muslim judge or a Christian judge? If it is a Christian judge, notwithstanding the fact that the judge found him guilty, I will say that the judge jailed him because he is a Muslim and the judge is a Christian. And I think this is one of the major challenges that this country is facing in terms of the administration of justice, in terms of equity, in terms of fairness. And I think, again, like what we say, coming together, bringing in these religious leaders, bringing in together, both of them coming together to give us, support our government, support our traditional institutions to really promote this concept of justice, fairness, and equity based on accepted national ideals is fundamental in achieving this. Otherwise, every just, fair course of action might be interpreted in a different way and may trigger even further conflicts. For example, in Kaduna, there has been many panels. When we review many of the panels of inquiry, many of the commissions of inquiry arising out of the many different conflicts that we have, you present it to people and you sit down and then there are divergent opinions. The Muslims will say, yes, this report is positive in this section, but is negative in that section, because in this section it said the Christians were guilty, and in that section it said the Muslims were guilty. So in that section where they said the Muslim is guilty, that section is not valid for the Muslims. In that section where it said the Christians are guilty, or a Christian member is guilty, then it's not valid for the Christians and is valid for the Muslims. I think in terms of maintaining social justice, in terms of promoting peaceful and harmonious coexistence, in most of these communities where these challenges are endemic, this is one of the major challenges that governments and why governments and law enforcement agencies find it extremely difficult to enforce the rule of law.
Let's go back to the phone lines. We have Stanley calling in from Lagos. Hello, Stanley. Go ahead.
Hello.
Stanley, are you on the line? Yes, Stanley, go ahead. Well, Stanley isn't speaking. I'm afraid we just have to move on. Perhaps you could call back. Let me go straight to Professor Bell Ihua. Right. And Prof, your studies seem to suggest that cohesion is on the decline. Why would that be? Okay, we have another caller. Felix from Benue. Let's hope this one would come through. Hello.
Hello, yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Right, go ahead with your question or comment.
My contribution is this, sir. Each program, everybody is talking about corruption, sir. And we are talking about insecurity. Have you ever talked about all those security that we have? How much are they paying them? How are they feeling in this country? Have you ever talked about all those people that have served federal government, that have retired? How are they taking care of them? You are paying security people low price and low money, and you that are collecting almost 30 million, 20 million in a month, you people are still going to the same market. Sir, let us tell ourselves the truth, sir. This country we have no ready, sir. We have a lot of issue to discuss. It's not about insecurity in this. Who are those insecurity? We are the same human being. You have taught security personnel what to do, and you are still paying low. And somebody that just gets to that position, you are paying 40 million, 30 million per month. Sir, let us put the right thing at the right order. Thank you. God bless you, sir.
All right, Felix, thank you. Your argument is based on the disparity in the economic circumstances. It's part of what has been discussed here, or still being discussed here on this program tonight. But again, Professor Ihua, back to the question of cohesion being on the decline and the parameters.
That you had mentioned the issue of social justice. So apparently some of the indicators we measured for the social cohesion survey included social justice, and we were asking citizens questions around the law. 67% of those we interviewed said that they do not think that the laws apply equally to everyone. In fact, they believe that certain persons are above the law in Nigeria. This is not a positive perception to have. Also, about 66% of those we interviewed also said that they feel that the rich and mighty are the ones that have access to justice, while we have over 50% who say that government is not doing enough to promote inclusion
of all citizens. So when you have this sort of perception, you see that it's no surprise why the index for social cohesion is declining. Also, you have the issue of impunity as another indicator. Over 90% of those we interviewed said that the issue of human rights abuses and violations are major issues in the country. And 40% said that they know that many people do not actually report those human rights abuses. We had the recent issue of the lady in Lagos who was, shot while she was on her way back from church or thereabout. So there are issues of abuse, there are issues of violations, and these issues of violations filter down to creating the perception of exclusion. And when people begin to have that sort of exclusion, it breeds a situation that does not allow cohesion to thrive. The Sheikh talked about corruption. Corruption is one of those major indicators also that we measured for cohesion. Citizens feel that corruption is on the high. As a matter of fact, over 70% of those we interviewed feel that corruption is more under this administration than it was under the last administration. But again, that's their perception. And when people have this perception about what they think on corruptions or impunity, social justice, their future expectations, it therefore filters into how they assess social cohesion on a general. And that's why in 2021, social cohesion was measured at 44.2%, but in 2022, it has declined to 39.6%, declining by 4.6%. And this is the score that we have at the moment. So a lot needs to be done around, social justice, making sure that people have equal access to opportunities that are available in the country. Once people feel excluded, once people feel marginalized, once people feel discriminated against, they don't have a sense of belonging, and it affects cohesion. Also, the issue of impunity. We hear about a lot of attacks. Attack in this place, attack in that place. We heard of the recent Kaduna attacks. But the question is, are people arrested? Are people tried? Are people taken to the court? And do we hear about the eventual outcomes of those trials? People feel that a lot happens and very little is heard about what actually happens in terms of arrest, in terms of trials, and what, if people eventually go to jail for those attacks or for those the perpetrators of such attacks. So we need to be looking into these different indicators and areas and open up the indicators to be able to have a clearer sense of why the index for social cohesion is going down at the moment.
So much. Let's come back to Dr. Maisong, especially taking it from your suggestion about the Ministry of Religious Affairs, seeing that we have this. Some people have also suggested that scrap religion, outlaw religion. In other words, take this thing away. Has it done more good or has it done more harm to society?
Well,
how do you respond to that?
If you say scrap religion, even those who don't believe in God, that's a religion. Even if you don't believe in God,
we'll come to it. Let's hear Henry, who's calling in from Lagos. Henry, you're on the line. Go ahead. Let's hear you.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
I actually want to thank you for organizing this program. And I equally want to thank the contributors too. I thought initially that this program is only marked for people calling.
Hello, Henry. Okay, you may need to call back. Let's hear you.
So, like I said, even somebody that does not believe in God is a faith itself. It's a section of people on the backdrop of rights of humans. I've got right for fellowship, right for association, and right for what I believe. So when you say scrap, you are infringing into my right. So people, that is why we talk about fake news and hate speeches the last time we discussed. But let me take this thing globally and let me take it philosophically. Nigerians are losing faith in their country because they have one or two challenges. I think Dr. Saleh said that and Prof said that. I've been to about 51 countries. They all have issues. All nations I've been to have their issues. Nigeria is not the only nation that has issues. When COVID came, COVID was global. When the economy meltdown came, it's global. When terrorism comes, terrorism is global. Everything happening in Nigeria today, including bad governance and corruption, are globally taking place. I need to talk to Nigerians in this aspect. We need to first believe in ourselves, in our nation, in our land. I think Sheikh talked about this is a portion of land that God gave to us to have inheritance. Look back in Cameroon, it's about French-English problem. In America, it's white and black problem. We don't have French-English problem. We don't have whites, and black problem.
You have ethnic and tribal.
Yes, so we have our own cup of tea. This is our cup of tea. So the best is to sit together. The word together, I was telling somebody the other day, together means to get her. It's from three words. To get her. So we have to synergize and collaborate to achieve the Nigeria of our dream. When people phone in, they say this country is somebody says a scam. The other person, I'm tired of this country. They say there's a new word now. Is it Japan or something? People wanting to run away. I can run away from Nigeria. I've been to 51 countries. This is the best country I have found, and this is a country of my nativity and nationality, and I love to live here. So we got challenges together, which are global challenges. We just need good leadership, good governance. Thank God you brought in 2023 into this discussion. We have to vote rightly. We have to choose our leaders. Sheikh talk about 10-point agenda. I wish the two or the three major political parties can adopt what Sheikh is talking about as their manifesto, because these guys come and wear uniform, wear face cap, and sing songs in campaign, making it look like crusades, and they say nothing. so we can solve the problem together. Serious.
Okay, let me get to the phones again. Mohammed is calling in from Maiduguri. Hello, Mohammed. Go ahead.
Hello. Thank you all. This program. It's a welcoming program. I thank all the presenters. Bishop Dishek. It is very apt moment the situation in this country. The time the status quo, mostly people do have the perception, which I think is wrong, that Nigeria is a secular country. Nigeria is not a secular country, but multi-religious country.
Okay. So
it's part of the confusion or the persecution, which happens to be the insurgent, happen to be like our experience in Maiduguri, but not yet. In Boko Haram, which confuse secularism for secular education. Secularism, is against religion in totality. But secularity, Islam is not against secular things, but it's against secularism, which is fighting religion in this entirety. There is need to have a social balanced life, because we know even the Westernization philosophy of secularism, which is somehow logical in its approach, because modernization of social life through science and technological advancement, it is a call by every religion. But unfortunately, we find ourselves in the globalization and modernization, which focuses mostly on materialism. It is rational in its quest, but due to having that is the philosophy where human is socially, the relationship between humans and their creator, that is God, is built socially or intellectually as socially irrelevant, which is contrary to the that is logic and rational.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Mohammed from Maiduguri. Again, I go down the same lane of saying what role religion has played. And Sheikh, I would come to you on this and say, you build places of worship much more than you build bonds of friendship. Does it make sense?
Well, Mr. Cyril, I may not totally agree with you. You see, in our belief, each and every human entity, I said it earlier, is made of two parts, physical and spiritual. So as religious leaders, by the time you build religious centers, you teach people don't steal, don't fornicate, don't be a liar, don't give bribery, you are building the body at the same time. Because in Islam, man is made of two parts, I said it, physical and spiritual. So it depends on the typology of the kind of center of religion somebody is building. If somebody as an imam, as an example, builds a mosque just to draw the attention of attendants, to take money from them, to mount the pulpit, to be dishing lies, that's not a good Muslim, he's a liar. He cannot be a good member of the society. He is not built, but he is destroying. Okay? But by the time you tell people don't steal, don't commit a lie, don't commit malpractice and examination, you are indeed helping the country. In fact, leaders of religion, to my understanding, are the true security agents. Because by the time somebody feels that, oh, God has said, don't do this, you have held the nation. Instead of spending a lot of money in making sure he becomes security conscious, he has left it because inwardly he was going to be punished. That is very, very important. The trouble is that some people think that religion should be outdated, is the opium of the masses, as those people will be telling you. Really, it's ingrained in human nature. As the bishop said, if somebody says he doesn't believe in God, that disbelief itself. It's true. So we are not building centers of religion. No. What we are doing is we are trying to inculcate in the mind of people consciousness of their creator. Because you live today, tomorrow in your grave, you are going to reap what you have done. So if you try to connect between people and their creator, you are doing a lot. The trouble is that secularism has been just made to be the religion by some people. What is secularism? What is that? Are you telling me religion should be aside? Nigeria is a multi-religious nation. It's heterogeneous. We have Christians, we have Muslims. To tell you just put this aside, this is not good. If that is the case, why do we say in our constitution, so help me God? Which God? Which God?
The argument is, okay, when you talk of corruption, the same people who profess and say, help me God, the biggest, in the corruption cycle, there are people who profess faiths.
That means,
does it help?
The teacher doesn't help in that case. But do you hold the imam or the pastor responsible for that? You don't.
So if they're not making any, if something is not making an impact,
you keep on doing it. The Quran says, وَذِكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Preach. Preachings benefit the believers. So the guy is not a believer. Totally. If he's a good believer, he stands the chance of benefiting. But you keep on telling him, no, he doesn't this. Now let me go back quickly to the issue of, again, justice. You see, there is one aspect of injustice as well. Today, mediocrity works more than meritocracy. What do I mean? You see the son of a downtrodden who has all the qualification to be employed, but is put aside. Somebody, son of somebody there with his own SES, socio-economic status is high. Before finishing the school, he has his own offer already handy. When he is fixed there, this is another case of injustice, definitely. Political practitioners who will go to the crannies, campaigning, come what? By the time they have been elected or selected or imposed, they vamos the thing here. You don't see them. This is an act of injustice. Campaigns on the election not fulfilled. trying to use young boys for thuggery, political, vendetta, killing. Okay? When the time they go to the office, they forgot them. This is an act of injustice. There are many instances. So I feel, I am of the view that ministry, as he said, I also add my voice to it. But the type of the people to manage it, that's true. I'm afraid corruption can also go there.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have to be very careful. Yeah.
Right, Dr. Wawali, dialogue, national dialogue, people have proposed that, but we've held series of national dialogue. We've discussed, Sheikh just talked about some discussion, a dialogue that took place in Kano. We have them in all shapes and sizes with all colorations. Can we say that these are impacting on national life, or they just end up as talk shops?
Bringing in people together to speak to themselves and to speak to the nation and to their listeners is very key and very important, and it should not be underrated and it should not be undervalued. I think we need to invest in speaking to people. We need to invest in providing information, in orienting citizens. We need to do a lot of investment in building moral character. And our religious people will say also spiritual character. This is very important, and we have seen that practically working in the work we do in the Kaduna State Peace Commission. Wherever you bring in young people, you bring in women, you bring in community and religious leaders together, you see an immediate difference. You see an immediate impact within that community. You see changes that you thought were impossible to achieve within a very short period of time. Importantly, again, we have to strengthen the key institutions that are responsible. We have to make our institutions functional. We have to make them just, fair, and efficient. There is no certain way, there is no alternative way to strengthening our institutions and making those institutions to work for the citizens of this country at the national level, at the state level, and more especially at the community level. And I think the democratic principles really need to permeate our local government administrations. And we have to invest a lot in building the capacities of those people at the grassroots to be able to be fair, to be able to be equitable, to be able to be just, and to understand the new dynamics, the new issues, and the new challenges of criminality, development, all of these issues that are affecting this nation. Our grassroots community leaders need to be trained. For example, I can give examples throughout the state. When you speak to village heads, you speak to district heads, they will tell you that, look, when these challenges came, nobody came and talked to us about it. Nobody came and told us how to respond to these issues, how to respond to these challenges. In the past, we were used to dealing with our own type of issues, with the type of problems that were existing. Now, there are new frontiers, there are new challenges, there are newcomers. Nobody is educating us, nobody is enlightening us on how to do this. So I think the symbiosis between our traditional rulers and our religious leaders need to be strengthened and supported. Our traditional and religious leaders must be supported to provide the right type of messaging to our young people, to our communities, to our community leaders, and to all the grassroots people within their own constituencies. I think this is very important. Importantly, I think the Nigerian government have neglected religious education, and many of these religious institutions, like the speakers earlier mentioned, in the name of secularism. I think this is not right. We need to support these institutions. We need to make them be part of the national ideal. We need to make our religious and traditional rulers to be part and parcel of our development agenda, to be part and parcel of those that will participate in setting up the development agenda and setting up the mechanisms for implementing and making these development agenda part and parcel of all of us. Whether it is fighting corruption, whether it's creating jobs, whether it's promoting science and technology, all of these people need to be brought on board. And I think this is very important to strengthen these institutions, to strengthen our religious spaces, to bring them on board and to work with them together with the traditional institutions that we are neglecting in many instances. I think by doing this, we will be able to create a fairer, more just and more equitable societies.
Thank you. And then Professor Ihua, some have suggested an attitudinal rebirth. As we begin to wind down, where is the family in this?
Family, to a large extent, should be the nucleus of where the attitudinal rebirth should come from. Before I really get into that, I would like to just chip in from where Dr. Namale left off. That we need to encourage conversations to take place at various levels of the country, whether at the federal level, state level, local government level. We should make dialogue part of our social fabric as a nation, such that the young people can have conversations, the market women can have conversations, different groups can have conversations about how they want their existence to go, what sort of development they want to see, what sort of progress they want to make, and set an agenda for what sort of development ideas and programs that they want government to do for them. I think part of our recommendation was that government has to do a lot to promote and allow these kinds of conversations to happen. So it's not enough to see people only come out during election season to cast their vote, and after the election they go back to sleep, waiting till the next 4 years to come out again to cast the election. Citizens need to be taught that after casting your vote, you need to now make government accountable to the promises that they made during their campaigns and follow through to ensure that those things that are needed, those development outcomes that are needed in communities, they are followed through to ensure that those development outcomes are gotten to communities. But if I come back to the issue of the attitudinal change, yes, the family should be the bedrock. But beyond the family, the educational system, and that is why we are not helping ourselves by not investing enough in our educational system. The Sheikh talked about it. He has been harping on the issue of quality education, not just quantitative education, or not just a situation where people build schools and put chairs. No, ensuring that they have the right teachers who can teach the students, ensuring that they have the right teaching aids that can make sure that the students understand. We're talking of AI, artificial intelligence, today. The current, education system that we have, are we going to be able to compete with the West when it comes to artificial intelligence or machine learning or data science and all of that? We must make sure that we fund education in this country to the point that our education is able to match shoulder to shoulder with the education system of the West. So yes, we have the family, but a major tool for socialization is the educational institution, which really needs to be funded and given top priority by government so that it can take its rightful place in the nation, and as also a platform for building cohesion.
Yeah, I'd like you to take it up from there.
The speakers have made a very good point, and in the area of cohesion. Remember, we're still talking about the Yuletide period. Back to Luke chapter 2, you see when Jesus was born. In verse 8, those of you who have your Bibles who can check it out, verse 8 and 20 of Luke chapter 2, the Bible says that it was even the shepherds, the herdsmen, that announced the birth of Jesus. The herdsmen. And you see how the cohesion was so strong that Jesus' parents who were in Jerusalem had to migrate by Augustus Caesar made a law for taxation to Bethlehem where he was born, and it was the herders who were in the bush. The Bible says in verse 8 they were herdsmen who were taking care of their flock that had the good message that ran to the city to see the child that was born. So back at this time of Christmas should remind us as Nigerians that we are first of all humans, then secondarily Nigerians, then thirdly Christians or Muslims. So that takes us back to discussing the issue of unity, uniting with you, like Sheikh said, not because I believe in what you are saying, not because I'm ready to let me correct what people used to say, religious tolerance. I don't believe in religious tolerance. I believe in personality acceptance. I accept you because you are my brother in Adam. I believe you are a human being. I believe you are a Nigerian like me. I don't tolerate you. Because if I tolerate you, you see, it connotes some form of I am managing to accept you. I'm trying to believe in you. So personality acceptance, and that is why one of the speakers talk about building core values, setting goals, having national objective, which all Nigerians, Christians or Muslims or whoever you are, we pursue. Because right now we don't have the central value system. Somebody talk about corruption. The justice system no more can get some people because they have the money to subvert it. People can, so to say, have a way of going out of their crime. So corruption, for instance, transcends religion. It transcends tribe. People are corrupt not because they are Christians. Somebody was talking about, you go to church, why are they still corrupt? You can sleep in the garage, but that does not make you a car. Somebody can sleep in the garage. It doesn't make him a car. So for you to be a car, you have to be manufactured. That takes me back. Like I said, I want to handle it philosophically. You need to give your life to Jesus and make him your Lord and Savior for your life to change. You cannot on your own change and have love and have peace and have a righteous life except you receive Jesus as your Lord and Savior. That's what I preach. So if somebody still hears such message and goes back to commit crime, like Sheikh said, it means my message did not touch him, and there is nothing religious leader can do. We are not held accountable for recalcitrancy of those who come to hear us. They are supposed to be hearers also and doers of the word.
Sheikh, as we wind down, a couple of minutes.
Yeah, really on the issue of you talked about, for example, when I said my state government organize
dialogues, and
you seem to be talking about has it imparted? It keeps on imparting positively. For example, in Kano, for the past 7 or 5 years, there have not been single crisis of religion because we believe in trying to call all people together. That's why that conference was organized. People came and the government did everything possible to make sure things went correctly. I was even of the opinion other state governments should borrow leaf from Kano state government. What has happened? Now, on the issue of now I'm trying to just kind of give views way out of the woods.
Yes. We talked about changes, attitudinal, rebirth.
Really. Rebirth of attitude is very important. If somebody is a liar, for example, and he knows lying is catastrophic, is bad, is against the teachings of Allah the Almighty, and he has listened to the preachings of the scholars, and he intends to holistically change, that is an achievement. That is an achievement. It's agenda number 1 on eternal rebirth. That is number 1. So that is very important. Change your attitude. Somebody during campaign, he said, do you want change in Nigeria? I say, yeah. Are you ready to change? People were silent. What kind of people are you? You say you want this government to be changed through ballot papers. Are you ready to you yourself start changing? You have to change from being negative to being positive people, so to speak. From lying people to truthful people. You don't lay your hand on people's properties. The Quran, my holy book, for example, talks about if somebody steals his hand should be cut off. In Quran chapter 5, verse number 37. So if that is looked into, people are being taught, they are being, things are explained to them positively, is very important. That helps in no small measure in making sure we achieve what you call attitudinal rebirth, which is going to be very important. Similarly, you talked about family. In Islam, the first human being is Adam. His wife is Hawa, or the Eve. These two came together. They produced children. In Quran chapter 4, verse number 1 to 3. So it tells you about the value, the importance of family structure. So if we want to have a good change, my understanding, look for a good and God-fearing life partner. So also you too should look for the husband, not the one with flashy car, with good cellular phone, with good bank account. He comes telling to you and you just open your eyes hoping you're going to marry a millionaire. So if these things are taken into consideration and come back home as a father, don't be drunken, don't be fornicator, don't adulterate, don't be a liar, don't be a thief. You steal, you come and feed your family. You go to the campaigns telling people everything you're going to give them manna from falling from the heaven. At the end of the election campaigns, you just disappear. These things cannot help us in making sure things go correctly.
And just on that note, we must leave this conversation out. We say no one program can take care of it all. We will leave it off here, and some other point we'll also look at other aspects of national cohesion. But at this point, we'd like to thank our guests for availing us of their thoughts on this program. Bishop Dr. Emma Isong, National Publicity Secretary, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right. Thank you to Sheikh Mohammed bin Usman, Chief Imam Sermonizer of the Shahaba Mosque, Kundila, Maiduguri Road, Kano. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Let me also extend our thanks to Dr. Salim Mamali, Executive Vice Chairman, Kaduna State Peace Commission. Thank you so much, Dr. Mamali. Professor Bell Ihua of the Coal City University, Enugu, Executive Director, Africa Polling Institute. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Right. And thank you too for being part of this program, for all those who called in and who stayed with us up to this time. Thank you. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Continue to stay safe.
Thank you.